Right, the map we're playing on is Sunkenlands. I know this map because it was in the ranked map list before, so this is where all the food is. I think we spawn on the corner side of the map, so around here. One of us gets like the food source from there, and one of us gets from there. I think there's two sacred sites in the middle. That's where the contest. That's where you contest it. Let's see what opponent we got. Knights Templar. So they'll be able to build keeps around a bunch of places here. I think it's very important that we try to shut this down. Or maybe we play late game because I'm playing Ottomans. We'll see.
Anunun, Munda, Emel.
Buyur gidelim. Anunun ilgeriler ne al?
Anunun, tepreşiren. Ne al, ilgerilerim.
Anuk kiterim. Buyurun.
Beklerim.
He. Beklerim.
Gezek. Arayın. Mingüçi. İla.
Buyur.
Turgurdu.
Buyurun. Evet. Mingüçi. Sakin. Evet. Anuk. Harayna. Gezek. Harayna.
Ne?
Buyurun.
Buyur.
Anuk. İle. Kiterim. Terkin. Mingüçi. Terkin. Yakarları. Hemen. Yesek. At minerim. Yolun yorukım. Yesek. Arayna. At minerim.
Anunun he. Anunun. Anuklu.
Buyurun. Kiterim. Yolun yorukım. Mingüç. Evet. Anu. Evet. Yezek. Arayın. At minerim. Tamam.
Ulu şinler ilgeri.
Anu. İler. Mingüçi. Yolun yoruşum.
Buyur.
Eşit. Konuşuruz.
Evet.
Evet.
Buyurun. Parayla. Mingüçi.
Beklerim.
Anuk.
Uzadı.
Evet. Mingüçi. Parayla. Harayla.
He.
Ne al?
Buyurun.
Beklerim.
Buyurun.
Anunum. Ne av?
Yesek.
Eşit.
Anunum.
Tamam.
Buyruk. Menli. Eşit munda.
Anuk. Yolun yorukum. Anuk. Buyruk doğrusu. Buyruk. İle.
Beklerim.
Mingüçi. Gelir. Harayla.
Munda.
Kılar. Buyruk. Çaplı. Yesek.
Nü. Anunum. Ne av?
Buyruk. Giderim. Evet. Anuk. Evet. Anuk.
İş mi kılacak? İş bizim eve giderim. Adın kar. Doğruşa andı kiterim.
Mingüçi.
İş bizi bekler.
kılındım. Anutun. Yesek hazır.
Nüker evet selam.
Toruşa hazırım.
Ora kiterim. Ulu işe hazırım. Körürüm hemen. Burada doğruşurum.
Yakın. Amaçla kılınırım.
Burada.
Hazır olun Mitan. Mingüçi hazır. Mitan hazır.
Uluş burada. Diz tepreşiren.
Nökere emet anlaştırın.
İş bizim.
Emet selam.
Buyruk veresin.
Buyruk nedir?
Kamu anot olun. Yorulup çek.
Burada.
Karındaşlarım ve hem menzil karındaşlarım kamu
İlger. Uluşin munda.
Eşitin. İş mi kılacaksın?
İşe hazırım. Doğruşa hazır. Tiz gider.
Yesek hazır. Buyruk olursun.
İş mi kılacaklar?
İşe hazır.
Anlatın. Ben yorma başlarım.
arzun nedir? Ey müminler hareket ederiz.
Uluşine İlger.
Tamam. Evet, selam.
Evet, yolun yorukum. İş mi kılacak?
Hiç gerek değil.
Küde değil.
Aferin.
Nükere uraba.
Buyruk kelim.
Evet, selam. İşe başla.
Nökerek.
Doğruşa hazır.
Sipahi eşitin gücü.
İş bizi bekler. Ne şey yok?
Çapıt kılındım.
Tepreşin. Basın.
İş bizi bekler.
Tur.
Evet, selam.
İşe hazır.
Eşitiz.
Eşit. Cevher olun.
Buyruk yoruyun.
Amaçla kılınırım.
Karındaşlarım, karındaşlarım.
Anti.
Derlendik.
Evet selam.
Alkışlar tezleşin erin.
İş mi kılacaksın?
Sipariş. Mansa.
Buluşun ilgeri.
Cefayı bulsun.
Sipariş hamdır.
İş bizi be.
Uğuruz hazır olur. Evet. Bilgi. Evet. Eşitin biti. Küdezgil kıl. Hamd eşit. Haray eşitin mansa.
İş mi kılacaksın? Tiz giderim. Yıga eve giderim.
Sipahi hamdir.
Arkadaşlarımızdan ki bu ne beyler?
Hazır olur. Anıtız.
İşe hazırım.
Parayla.
Lan
Eşitin. Yorayın.
Derlendik.
İn gücü hazır. Ya.
Buyruk bir. Eşitin. Sipahi hamdir.
buyruk kelin.
Yaptırı başlar.
Oklarlar. Olmaz.
Cevvalun veli.
Anıtız.
Karındaklarım. Evamiri.
Eşit. Çiferiz. Hazır olur.
Erinçsiz.
Doğruşa hazır.
İleri. Kamu milyonu. Sipahi.
Yakın.
İş bekler. Ora kiterim.
Sipahi hazır. Hazır olur. Eşit.
Bura varım.
Okçu hazır. Okçular çekin.
Anıtız. Atlar bu ne? Kitelim. Afil. Buyruk bir.
Bura var. İş bizi bekler. Eşitin.
Doğruluk. Sipahi. Bilgi. Kitelim. Eşitirim.
Eşit. Ya.
Küdezgil kılın. Boy küdezgil kılın. Kitelim. Varlar. Olmaz. Bilgi. Amr.
Emek selam.
Yoruyun. Otun. Yoruluk kes.
Anıt kılın. Eşit.
Emel. Eşit.
Emir eyle.
Tepreşim bitir.
Tepleşin erin.
Arz emir eyle.
Biten yerin manta.
Beni icra eyle.
Eşitin biti. Mansa. Eşit. Amr. Bilgi. Eşitin. Buyruk senin. Küdezgil kıl. Eşitin. Tiz.
Taarruza maruz kaldık.
Kitelim.
Harayna. Emet.
Bilgi. Para eşit.
Buyruk bir. Okçular. Olur. Okçular. Hazır.
Küdezgil kıl.
Emet selam.
İş mi kıla?
Küdezgil kıl.
Bura varım.
Eşit. Mahi hazır. Mansa. Haray eşitin bitik. Buyruk senin.
Okçular. Tamam. Bilgil. Eşitirim.
Sevnedim.
Buyruk nedir?
Eşitin bitik.
Bilgi. Eşit. Buyruk senin. Amaçla kılanırım. Küdezgil kıl. Tepleşin erin.
Buyruk nedir?
Haray. Tiz. Çapıtayın. Amd.
Güdezgil kıl.
Bu bilgi. Kuruldu.
Emek selam. Buyruk kere. Tiz. Doğruşa hazır.
Eşit. Küdezgil kıl. Olmaz. Ve haray. Buyruk. Buyruk. Buyruk bir. Tamam. Buyruk olur. Ya olur. Atlar bu nem.
Okçular. Aslan gitin. Buyruk bir. Yola gidelim.
Derlendik.
Akır oğlum. Derlen.
İşe hazırım.
İşe hazırım. Amdı kiterim.
Anı tuz. Mehter hazır. Anıt kılın. Mehter hazır.
Hazır olur. Buyruk bir. Yolun yoruk. Amaçla kılanırım. Sipahi hazır.
Okçular olur. Okçular. Derlendik.
Anıtım. Amaçla kılanırım.
Burama doğruşurum.
Anıtuz.
İleri. Kamu bir.
Okçular. Al mehter. Kuyruk senin. Depreşinerin. Mansa. Kitelim. Anda. Okçular. Kuyruk olursun. Okçular. Çekin.
Toruşa hazırım.
İş bizi bekler.
Anıtuz. Sarp. Okçular. Ya. Akın oğlum.
Oğuzda hazırım.
Derlendik. Mehter ağız kuyruk. Anıt kılın okçular. Hep
Kere tiz tepreşirem.
Aksar bu nem.
İş mi kılacaksın?
akın oğlum.
Karanlar. Ben hazır.
Evet, evet. Akın oğlum. Kitelim. Anıt kıl. Arayna. Okçular. Okçu. İlgeri. Derlendik. Okçular. Aslan. Kitelim.
Eşi. Derlendik.
Mehter Ahmet.
Ahmet selam.
Ot kılarlar.
İş
Anıtuz. Tamam. Hepreşin.
Sipahi hazır.
Derlendik.
Düzgil.
Siz.
Bura varım. İş bizi bekler. Uluşin. Bu körürüm Mehmet. Uluşin
Karan
bunda.
hazır. Sipahi hazır. Buyruk buyruk.
Akın oğlum.
Sipahi varsa.
Anıtuz.
Akın olun.
Mansa. O mehter hazır.
Nükerek. Yolun yoruk.
İş bizi bekler. Arayna kılarım. Otun eve giderim.
Eşit. Emet.
Eşit.
Buyruk bir.
Aman.
Eşitin.
Buyruk.
Buyruk bir. Bilgi.
Eşitin bitik. Güdezgil kılın.
İşe hazırım.
Durdum.
Tiz tepreşirem.
Güdezgil kılmazsa.
Evrisi tutup buyruk mu olursun?
Hemen, hemen. Okçu hazır. Tut buyruk çarpıyor.
Buyruk bir.
Bakın.
Şat buyruk.
Çiz. Anıt kılın. Tamam. Mehter avansa.
Küdezgil tepreşin eri. Eşitin mansa.
Akın oğlum.
Buyruk nedir? Sipahi anıtız.
Anıtuz. Okçular.
Derhahı merdandır. Evrisi tulumu.
Okçular. Çek.
İş bizi bekler. Toruşa ha...
Buyruk kelime gel. Gitarım.
Derlendik.
Bilgi. Çiterim. Evrisi tulumu.
Mehter ole. Okçular. Ya. Derlendik.
Evrisi tulumu. Çolkur. Derhahı merdandır. Sipahi hazır.
Mehter emel.
Evrisi tulumu hazır.
İşe hazırım.
Ot kılarlar.
Gitar.
Olmaz.
Anıtuz.
Nükerek. Vur.
İş mi?
Akın oğlum.
Evrisi tulumu. Aslar anıtız. Baş üstüne.
Derlendik.
Evrisi tulumu hazır.
Buyruk bir.
Evet selam.
Bilgi. Buyruk senin.
Eşit. Eşit eşit. Ant.
Anıtuz.
Evrisi tulumu. Düzgil. Sipahi hazır. Eşitin bitik. Olur.
Yakın yakın. Ya soruldu. Mehter hazır.
Derlendik. Andır.
Akın oğlum.
Anıtız.
Anıt kılın.
Küdezgil. Çapıca altı oldu.
Taking a look at the map, I spawned on this side, and our gold is actually quite nice. It's relatively next to the base. It is in a forward position, but that's not too much of concern. We have 2-3 trees here. An easy wall would probably be this. The walls on this side is a bit harder to secure. Perhaps something like this would have been good too. This is probably easy to do. We spawn closer to this side of the map, so we are definitely going this way instead of this way. Our opponent also spawns with a forward gold, and that's where he went to take his gold, which gave me an opportunity to attack him. 2 trade posts spawns in the middle of the map. So if I were to go trading, I would have to put it here and then cross all the way over here. There's a stealth forest in the middle where you can put troop into. There's probably some kind of play around this stealth forest. Our opponent has a deer pack at the back. I also have one that's relatively close by. One here at the back as well. So he got a bit unlucky that his other deer pack spawns quite forward. There's 2 gold and a sacred site plus relics in this area. So if this game goes late, I believe this area is probably going to be contested quite heavily. Each player basically gets a relic in their base. These relics are probably hard to go for, so if I wanted to go for this relic, I would have to go around this corner to get it. Everything is his here. His TC can fire from this side. If he wants to go for my relic, he would also have to go around. Both the front of our bases is quite exposed. Both our wood lines spawn quite separated away from each other at the front. So closing off the front is kind of hard. Though I think I got luckier than he did because I spawned with a bunch of gold and stone here. So when I close off my base, it would just be kind of like that. Or maybe even like this if I was getting pushed too hard, which you will see soon in the game. I opened the game with the 1311 build. This is a build that's on one of Beastie's videos. It's a very nice build. I honestly enjoy it a lot. It's such a lazy build. You literally, all you do is 3 on wood, 1 on stone, 1 on gold, and then you rally your TC to your food. At one point, when you collect around 300 to 350 wood, you just take the wood villagers off the wood and onto the food to age up. That's really all you do. After playing this, it's so much like it's so stress-free is what I'm trying to say. It's very stress-free. You can concentrate on scouting the map and looking at the resources, and rather than having to macro a bunch of stuff at the town center. My scouting pattern, I decided to go check the food source on his side of the map, because sometimes players on this map do take those kind of food sources early on. I wanted to see if he would at the start of the game. It doesn't happen too often because the walking time is not worth it, but I thought I'd check it out anyway. In hindsight, I don't think I don't need to do that again. I don't believe anyone does that, but I've seen it once or twice, so I just thought I'd check. Our opponent actually goes for quite a nice scouting pattern around the map and then around the corners and back. I went for this scouting pattern, so I believe we covered about the same amount of map. let's check the sheep statistics. 14 to 11. So yeah, he's won the scouting war. He's definitely won the sheep scouting war. I open with military school, as you would do for this build. In fact, every Ottoman build pretty much opens with military school by the looks of it. I rally my spear to around this point here. I knew that it was out of vision range if he doesn't have an outpost. And I didn't want to rally here and then just stand still for a while, not realizing that my spearman's already there, and then attack, because he would have just seen my spearman and reacted, right? So I rally instead to around here. I had a decision to make here, whether to build the landmark at next to the town center where it's safe, or build it more towards berries and be a bit more greedy. In the end, I chose to build it next to the town center because honestly, this landmark is so strong. I don't know what the pros think about this landmark, but I think it's so good. Like, these berries, they can take 4 to 5 villagers on them, and it's infinite. The food just keeps respawning, and you basically always have 4 villagers on food, which is what you need to produce a villager constantly from the TC. It's basically like Japan's Kura storehouse, if you think about it, but not as ridiculous as the Japanese one. I go in for a harassment here, realizing that he has no outpost and his gold is out of the TC range, as you can see from here. At this point, I've seen his troop, so I bring my scout back to drop off the chief, and I know that he's coming. I kill a scout here because I didn't want him to see what else I was doing in my base. A slight mistake here. I went for a blacksmith first. I think what I should have done was go for the stables, maybe 2 of them, or maybe go for an archery range as well as a stable. Now, this is my first time playing Ottoman online, so I didn't really know too much about them. The Ottomans' military unit production rate is increased by 20% in feudal age, which, if you think about it, that's quite a bit because military academy, which the Ottomans don't have, they have this instead. Military academy increases the speed by, I think, 30 or 33% or something like that. So having that extra 20% in feudal age is actually quite strong. I think this blacksmith should be built later, after I've gotten my military schools and my stables and whatnot. I think that's probably a better, more efficient play in this scenario. Because if you think about it, a blacksmith isn't going to do anything at this stage in the game, you know. The upgrades cost gold, which, as you can see from the resources here, I have nobody on gold. And I'm going for a feudal kind of rush, and I know that he's got units coming in, which means I needed units out immediately. So going for a blacksmith here is kind of inefficient. It's not responding directly to what my opponent's doing. My scout spots his troop coming in. I rally my troop back to base, and I take everyone off the berries and the gold, because I know that there's no way I can contest this. I have 100 wood, as you can see, and I could have built an outpost over here, O for outpost, and that would have protected a bunch of things in this area. But playing Ottoman, I think it was just a better idea to just get military instead to push back against his troop. So either way, I'm not sure if that was the right play. Well, they're both okay plays, but one of them is probably better than the other one. And if I had to guess, I think using that 100 wood to build a stable instead and more production buildings is the better play here. Let's have a look at the stats on the sergeant. Okay, so they do melee damage and they throw that bloody axe as well. 12 damage for, and with 105 health, plus, ooh, 4 melee armor? Holy crap, these guys are kind of good. They're probably not viable in the higher leagues, but at my league, I feel like 12 damage and 4 melee armor is pretty strong. However, looking at the cost, they do cost quite a bit, and they do take quite a while to train, like Man-at-Arms. 23 seconds, 23 seconds. They cost 120 resources. Oh, that's the same as Man-at-Arms. So it's basically a Man-at-Arms, but in Feudal Age. My opponent comes in for the side raid here. I back off all the villagers that were just way too close to the harassment line. Yes, I call it the harassment line, so around here. I move them to the right side of the base so that I can safely gather wood on this side instead. My opponent opens with pilgrims. I think this play from him is reasonable because he's got troop in my base, he's got map control at the moment, and I think from his perspective, he probably thought that he could keep this map control and just keep me in my base. So I would say that's quite well done from his end. A stable comes out and I start messing Sipahis. In hindsight, these guys are heavy melee infantry, but they do not have range armor. So maybe I could have opened archers too, and that would have been good. Either way, Sipahis do have better stats than the sergeants here. The Sipahis do cost more, 160 resources versus the 120 of the sergeant. Realizing that the sergeants have no range armor, I decided to build an archery range. One thing that I am so glad I didn't do was throwing my troop into his troop right now. Because this game is based on having critical mass of your troop, and throwing troop that is smaller than your opponent's pretty much ends up in you losing. Unless of course your troop like really counters his troop, right? The counter system is what makes up for the lack of number. I didn't know that we were actually even on the unit count, but at the time I was playing, I didn't want to risk going in. I wanted to be sure that if I go in, it's a definite win, so I kept gathering my troop. Here I try to wall off the back of my base. I went for a bit of a greedy wall across here. He probably spotted this or had a feeling that I was doing this, and therefore got shut down here. Now, seeing his two sergeants down here, I realized I actually have the advantage. My troop, while not as many as his at the moment, but it's more than 2 units. And I was sure, like for sure, that if I threw my units into this, I would be able to kill it quite easily. And this might snowball me into fighting the other units over here. So I go for this kill, as well as moving my villagers from this wood line to this wood line for safety. One thing to note from this game is that he is going infantry. His movement speed is 1.25. And because he's focused in on this side of the map, right? Him having to come and harass the wood line here is actually kind of difficult and a bit of a waste of time. Because he's not able to just move his troop down this way to find damage. He would have to move around this way and then go all the way around these wood line and then back here. And that's a lot of walking time. And that's why I felt quite secure chopping wood on this side instead, and that's why I moved them. After picking up 2 kills from the sergeants over here, I decided it's time to gather my troop together and go for a kill on these guys. My unit mass was bigger than his because of his 2 losses. I activate my fortitude ability, but to be honest, I shouldn't have done that. In my mind, I was thinking, okay, these sergeants, they're range, right? No, they're melee. They just happen to have range attack, but their damage is actually melee. So next time, don't activate fortitude, as I will take 50% extra damage from melee weapons. My opponent throws more troop into here. If you have a look, he's constantly just pouring troop out of his base to try and pressure me. Seeing that there were just troops being poured into my base, I decided to pour troop back into his base. I built another stable, I built a barracks, and I'm just hoping that I'll be able to push back on whatever he's doing. I take my 2 imams with me to heal the troop as I push in. He's building spears, so I believe at this point I do start building archers. Yes, I do. I build archers to try counter the spears. I lose a villager here, I think, due to some carelessness. Really should have been more attentive to this. Reaching his base, I put the imams back here because I was going to attack and then move back and forth so that my guys can heal and then they can go straight back in. What I didn't know was that he had troops behind me, and this caught me off guard. I tried to regroup my spears and imams with my spahis. However, I ended up losing the imams completely, which is actually a really bad thing to do, because these guys cost a vizier point, and if I had kept them alive, they would have done much more. Well, they would have given me much more value in the game because they can heal my units. And feudal healing in Age of Empires 4 in this season is quite strong. Any civ that has feudal healing I feel like is quite strong. My reinforcement comes along. I decide to go to the left and find out if he has anything. My main force with my Sipahis are just running around trying to disengage from these spears, keeping them occupied. As long as these spears are occupied, right, they can't go to my base because they have to deal with this. So running around, keeping them just busy, I think was a good idea. My production buildings are now fully ready. I don't think I need it anymore because the amount of resources these buildings are gonna use is probably enough. Like, I have just enough villagers to constantly produce from these things, and so I decided I wasn't going to build any more production buildings until Castle Age. A fight breaks out in the middle at 13 minutes. He pours his troop into me. I believe this is a mistake. You should never pour troop like this one by one into your enemy, because I have the critical mass of units, right? The less units you have against your opponent, the faster they're gonna lose. You want to mass your troop together so that you can have a more even fight, as obvious as that sounds. It took me a while to understand this concept myself. So for you out there that don't really understand why critical mass is important, just think of it this way. If you have 5 units onto 1 unit, those 5 units will deal DPS in an instant, while your 1 unit can only attack once. So it's like having a smaller health bar, right? 1 hit and you're dead. Or 1 volley of hits and you're dead. Yeah, pouring in troop like this wasn't a good idea from his end. He really should have just kept his units and just gathered them here, because ain't no way I can push this town center. He didn't need to try and gain a map control over here. I go in for a push because I can see that there are buildings that are outside its TC range I can do some damage on. In hindsight, I think I should have went for these houses. Let's have a look at the game for a second. He's got 27 units. If I killed 4 houses, he would be down to 10 population cap, which means he would be unable to use any of these production buildings. So in a way, me attacking these production buildings, because in my mind I was thinking, if he doesn't have production buildings, he can't make units. If he can't make units, I can win, right? But at the stage in the game, at 15 minutes, okay, you know what, the time doesn't matter because it's more about the stage in the game. It could be 20-30 minutes and we could still be in feudal age, right? So let's think about it this way. At this stage in the game, we're both in feudal age, and these houses are probably very valuable to him right now. He doesn't have that many spare villagers to just go and chop wood for new houses. Losing houses at this point, even losing military buildings at this point, is quite costly, right? Your economy early game isn't as great as Castle or Imperial, of course. So losing these things at this early stage in the game is probably a big blow to his advantages and his ability to stay in the game. My archers are covering the pilgrims. I knew that he had pilgrims out and I needed archers to just cover them. Once again, he throws in a spearman by himself, when really he should be massing them by TC, where I can't get to them. Get to a mass of, let's see, I have 10 horses, 9 Sipahis, so I think 10 to 12 spearmen, if he had massed them, that would have probably pushed me back. I accidentally bring a villager out here because I rallied my TC out here by accident. But, you know, seeing that it's already out there, I may as well build an outpost and keep an eye on his gold. I also had the spare wood to use, so I thought why not. I stopped attacking the blacksmiths here because I don't think there's any point to it. He could get upgrades, but he has no troop. So what exactly is he upgrading if he gets upgrades, right? So what's the point? I pulled my troop around the trees because I saw a horseman coming, and my goal at this point in the game was to keep his unit mass low, keep his military low. The lower it is, the easier it is to kill, and then I can keep massing my units, which makes it even better for me. Ottoman is honestly so strong. Once they get this set up and they get a whole bunch of villagers chopping wood and getting food, they just constantly have units. It's ridiculous. I'm not gonna lie, this is my first time playing Ottoman online and I feel like these guys are kind of strong, man. I can see why Beastie plays Ottoman as like S tier or something, or A tier. Finally, I go for the houses, realizing that if I can destroy these houses, he's not going to be able to produce units. He's going to be pop capped, and there are 4 houses out here, which means there's probably not many houses at the back. I split 2 of my units out to try and see if he's doing anything else. I didn't want him to be on this food source here, and just sneakily, you know, being able to age up with the food sources here. In hindsight, I think I should have just went this way instead of going this way down to the food sources. But I wanted to check. I didn't want him to be sneaky. I didn't want him to do that. Though, thinking about it now in hindsight, why would he do that, right? He's getting pushed. He's got no map control right now. I have the map control because I have the military units to control that map. So him moving out his villagers down to here might just be a game throwing move. Siege engineering comes out and I build rams. Usually, in my opinion, as a gold player, you build rams when you know you have more military than he does, right? You build these rams to fight the buildings. Buildings do DPS. TCs, they shoot. Outposts, they shoot. How do you counter these things? Rams, right? I don't think you should ever go for rams if your army size are the same, because then you're kind of just throwing your rams forward into the defensive buildings, and then you're throwing your military forward into the buildings, but he's got the same amount of military, so it's just gonna be an even fight, and you just invested 200 wood into a rams. Oh, multiple rams, maybe 2 or 3, so 400 to 600. Meanwhile, his buildings, you know, they cost less than rams. So as obvious as that sounds, I think, yeah, building rams should really be reserved for when you know you have the military advantage and you need to close the game. Finally, I destroyed these houses. I wasn't sure the impact at this point of destroying the houses, but having a look now, he's pop capped. He needs more houses himself. Houses which he can't exactly afford, right? He has to build spears. Spears cost wood. He's farm transitioned because he's running out of food. At this point, I do see the farms, I believe. Let me have a look. Yeah, I think I do see the farms. And that signaled to me he's definitely out of food. If he's not going out on the map or going out here to get food and he's building farms, then he probably can't produce as many units as I can. So I go straight in for the push. My Sipahi, as you can see, are upgraded now. They have the range armor +3, which I think is really, really strong. Honestly, TC Fire does 8 damage. These guys, 3 range armor, that's 5 damage. They've got 145 health. You would have to shoot them like, what, 70 times? Wait, I can't do math. How many times do you have to shoot this? 5, 10, 100, 20, 20, and then 5, 5, 5. Like 30, 40 times. Okay, I can't do math right now. But around 30, 40 times from TC. From one arrow. Spahis are honestly really good at diving TCs. Their range armor is kind of crazy. My opponent gets away with mining this gold because I was inattentive. I think what I should have done was just moved maybe a few units around here just to have a look. Let's have a look at my scouts. Okay, so my scout is idle. This scout really should be placed around here, that he can see into the map, into his base quite well. Here I decided to just try and finish the game. I know that he's playing Knights Templar. He's only got this one TC. If he loses it, he loses the game. So I go in for a straight push to try and end the game. The other thought I had was maybe I could try kill the, well, destroy these production buildings so he doesn't, well, he can't produce any more troops. But I thought, why not just try finish the game? I get slightly indecisive here, where I go for the production building rather than the TC. In my mind, I was just kind of like, look, do I just play it safe, or do I just go for it? And I decided to play it safe and destroy these buildings instead. My Spahis finds out where his villagers are, because I was wondering, where was he getting this wood from, right? And he was still building units, so I knew that he was getting resources from somewhere. And so my opponent taps out. So what can we learn from today's game? Early on, houses are high value targets. Destroying a house actually sets your opponent back quite a bit. This doesn't apply in middle to late feudal ages or castle or imperial, because at that point in the game the houses are very cheap to replace. But early on, when both players have to play optimally so that they can even get to castle age in the first place, the houses having to replace them sets them back. If you have cavalry, keep up pressure around their base. Try not to tunnel vision into attacking just from one direction. It might seem like a good idea to just keep pressure onto one direction, but while you're doing that, you let your opponent run around his other side of the base, and they can boom and build military units and do all sorts of things where you're not watching. So it's a good idea to just loop around their base as often as you can, especially you have cavalry. I don't believe this applies to infantry, because infantry takes a while to walk, and if you walk with infantry, you kind of let off the pressure on the side of the map that you're trying to attack from. Think about when it's appropriate to get a blacksmith. Let's do a little thought experiment. Let's say you build one spearman. This costs 80 resources. And then you're deciding whether or not to upgrade the spearman or build some more. If you upgrade to a melee armor upgrade, that's 175 resources. 175 resources is almost equal to 2 and a bit spearmen. And if you think about it, what is stronger? 2 more spearmen with the one that you already have, so 3, or getting 1 melee armor upgrade on your 1 spearman. Let's say you have 10 spearmen instead, and now you're choosing whether or not to build 2 more spearmen or upgrade their melee armor. And in this scenario, I'm not sure which one is better. So a pro will probably know, a higher level player will probably know the answer, which I don't, but I'm gonna assume that it's probably better to upgrade the Spearman with +1 armor when you have at least 10. Any different opinion, suggestions, or critiques, or you just want to talk about the game in general, let me know in the comments. And that's it. See you next time.